This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome. We're an award-winning show dedicated to empowering women in every profession through inspiring stories and expert insights. No topic is off limits on our show. We power women on the road to success with expert and celebrity interviews and information you need. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
Private detectives and true crime are all the rage today. PIs and police detectives have been immortalized in TV and movies with characters like Dick Tracy, Sherlock Holmes, Nancy Drew, Kalinda Sharma, Mike Hammer, Cagney and Lacey, and many others. But what does it take to be a private eye? How about being a woman private investigator? We don't hear nearly enough about them. Kroll and Jen Rosant are highly successful PIs. Bari owns B. Lauren Investigations. Both Bari and Jen have worked together where they've delved into the world of insurance and business fraud and other areas. Bari's an expert who's been featured on 2020, Fox and Friends, Nickelodeon, Maury Povich, and others. She's even starred in a pilot for Bravo. Jen has over 17,000 hours of surveillance and is highly accomplished with the stamina, dedication, and drive to finish each case with positive results. She's a motivational speaker at self-help groups, and she's been featured on many podcasts such as I've Had It, and also starred in a pilot for Bravo. Bari and Jen have a new podcast of their own that's going to have some seriously juicy and intriguing stories listeners are gonna love. It's called Private Eyes. It brings listeners undercover and gives them an inside look into the life of a female private investigator and the experiences they have. It's nothing short of badass and cool. We have Bari and Jen with us today, and we're super excited. Welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
Oh
you.
my God.
Hello.
Yeah.
So excited.
We are too.
First of all, we're so honored to talk about your new podcast. I know it's going to be a big hit. And I think being a PI has got to be one of the most exciting careers. You know, too often people think of this as being a traditionally male profession. What's it like to be a woman in this field? Why did you guys go into it? What does it take to be a PI? You can tell I got a lot of questions here. What?
You and many others. So yeah, it definitely, I entered this field a little over 20 years ago, and there's already few women, really too few women in the field today, and there were less 20 years ago, and it was not easy breaking in. When people think of a private investigator, what do they think of? They think of a guy. Right.
Columbo.
Columbo.
Actually, no, I take it back.
PI.
I just watched Magnum PI just before this podcast.
Tom Selleck. Yeah, right.
Tom Selleck.
You know.
He's a handsome guy. So some of it is like that, and some of it isn't. But that's what people think of. They think of a guy in a trench coat, hiding behind the bushes, smoking a cigar, drinking his scotch or whiskey or whatever. And I got into this field, and a lot of it is like that, unfortunately, because the field was really driven by and really created for former law enforcement officers and detectives, and they retired, and they kind of got together and said, well, what are we going to do now? Well, we'll do this exactly what we do, for the private sector. So there were not a lot of women in the field, and there still are not. And my experience with it has been just as you can imagine. When people find out that I'm a private detective, they're like, what? You are? You're not. They're always like so surprised. They're like, but you're pretty, or like
Oh yeah, Bari, I was going to say, did
ugly.
they say you don't look like one?
They say, yes, all the time, you don't look like a private detective. I said, well, that's what makes me good. So, it's and it definitely had its pros and cons being a woman in the field. There are, a lot of people that really still don't feel like a woman can do the job of a man. And or not tough enough, or not strong enough, or might be scared or timid, and obviously that's not the case. I mean, this job was made for me, and it was made for Jen too.
Absolutely.
So that it wasn't easy when I first joined and joined the field, and I got licensed. I was met with a lot of other private investigators that weren't very welcoming. They kind of, looked me up and down like, okay, what are you going to do here? And they all had their war stories and all of those things. And I had like not only was I a woman, I also don't have a law enforcement background. So I was like, the kiss of death to them, like, this stranger, this outsider, in their field. So
Sure.
So that's kind of the experience that I had.
Kind of like my leaving a 13-year nursing career to go into operating the world's largest machinery, right?
Yeah.
Huh? What? What are you doing here?
Like
Sure.
some kind of foreigner, like an alien.
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
I don't
Not
know about
iron.
mining, but yeah, no.
Yeah, it's crazy. I would think women, just because we're biologically wired to raise kids, we'd be better detectives because you got to figure out what those kids are doing because they're not going to be upfront about
Good
it.
point.
You're 100% right. I think there is a certain instinct. I mean, anybody can learn how to do the basic functions of, let's say, surveillance or doing background checks and research and all of those things. But at some point, instinct has to kick in to be a good private investigator. It just has to.
Mhm.
And I think women, there's a lot of multitasking that comes along with this job. And I think that women are really suited for this type of work.
Jen, what did you experience? Some of the same stuff that Bari has?
Yes, I joined Bari. I was looking for a job, and I utilized social media one day, and I just needed a change. And I said, "Is anybody hiring?" Well, Bari and I go back to high school days, so she reached out to me. She said, "Jen, I think you would be great at this." So I got out there and I loved it, and I do really well with going through, following people. They definitely don't think that I'm an investigator. I change my look all the time, like different outfits. My trunk is full of all different kinds of clothes, hats. You never know where these people are.
That's so cool.
At the end of the day, I go home and my car looks like a messy room because there's just clothes all over the place. But, I've gone into buildings where Barry's like, "There's no way you're going to get in." I'm like, "Yeah, watch me." In this field, it takes a lot of looking ahead. It's fast thinking. It's fast talking.
The gift of gab goes a long way.
You got to get past those gatekeepers. You need to get into here. You need to get into there, and you just really fast come up with things, and that's how you get successful. On top of recording them and catching them doing all the fraudulent things that they're not supposed to be doing.
That's got to be so exciting. I mean, you're basically, it's kind of like being in theater all the time because you're a different character,
Yes, that's what we feel like, characters. It is.
Yeah, you do feel like when people are interested in working here and we're interviewing them, I often say, you know what, it's kind of like being an actor. It really is. You have to put yourself in the mindset that you are somebody else. For that day, you're the soccer mom. You're the truck driver, if that's who you're following. You have to put yourself in the mindset of the environment that you are in, whether that be your and not only being your appearance, but you really have to convince yourself you belong in this place.
Yep.
And that's how you get what you need.
Like the day I dressed like a construction worker.
Right.
I had my yellow vest on and I'm right in there with all the guys. And the general manager says, "Excuse me, can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm just on site early. I'm just waiting for the engineer." And he said, "Okay, if you would like to look around, sure." And I wasn't there for him. I was actually there for a landscaper that was in the backyard. So I just went in the backyard and recorded.
Got what you did.
That's excellent. That's so very cool. Now, do you have to do any kind of prep? I mean, if you're going to pose as a construction worker, do you have to kind of know the jargon and know what to talk about so they aren't going to suspect that you're not really one of them?
Well, you know the phrase "jack of all trades"?
Yeah.
Kind of like Jen of all trades. So working with Bari is really like, it's a dream come true. I mean, she's wonderful to work with. I love this job. I love just every day going to work. And, it's just getting the stuff together. It's, preparing all different kinds of outfits. As far as like being into construction, I used to work in sales, and in sales, I sold very large contracts to property managers, business owners for like window cleaning. So I had some experience with like measuring windows. So in this situation, I had a clipboard, I had measuring tape, I had a marker, I went in, I had the vest on, a helmet. And you would think, how do you even know? I just take everything that I have. Or if my neighbors say, hey, do you want this? I just take it.
Collector of crap.
And my trunk is just filled with like every kind of costume. Like I could go to a Halloween costume party every day and be a different character.
Oh, I love it.
It's free.
And it definitely takes some preparation, like
Research that
yes.
you do.
For example, like if you're going to a wedding, so I've had to go to a couple of weddings in my day where I really was not an invited guest, but no one would know because I showed up dressed with my card, my gift, and you just have to play the part. You get the props and you win, and that's it.
Bari's the original wedding crasher.
How do you do that when somebody comes up and says, do you remember so-and-so, blah, blah, blah? I mean, how do you play along with something like that?
No, again, in the preparation, I thought to myself, all right, first hour is going to be cocktail hour. Usually the bride and groom are not there, so I don't have to have an encounter with someone who might know that I possibly don't belong there. So at the cocktail hour, everyone's just kind of mingling, looking around. Maybe you're from the groom's side. Maybe you're from the bride's side. You don't also want to be too friendly. You don't want to make eye contact with a lot of people. And that's not that hard for me because I'm a little bit of an introvert. And so you just kind of hang around and you observe and you kind of grab yourself a little flute of champagne like I did, and down it, and you just hope for the best. And if somebody says, do you know Jane? I say, oh, no, I know the groom's side. Oh, okay. And I got to go to the bathroom. See you later.
She even brought a wedding card.
Yes, I did.
That is terrific.
I always wonder if somebody opened that card and they were like, why would somebody just give us an empty card with no gift, not even a signature?
That's hilarious. It's funny. This kind of tenacity and innovation, necessity's the mother of invention, too. You have to be clever and creative.
I remember earlier in my career when I wanted to get some work and I couldn't get past the gatekeeper at the front desk and all of that. I basically waited for the security guard at one of the companies to go to the bathroom.
That's
and
right.
I went to the elevator to see, I was able to do that prior to this, to see where I needed to go. And when that security guard left, I went up that elevator. I went in the building, went to the department I wanted. And, I got the job. And I admitted what I was doing in this particular case. I'm like, this is what I did, but I've come a long way. I'd really like to talk to you. And they remembered me when they had a gig for some voiceover work. They're like, we needed somebody for this particular gig. And I remembered the gal said, we remembered the redhead from Kalamazoo who came into our office. So I made an impression. But I mean, I guess it's some of the same kind of characteristics. You have to be sneaky and innovative,
Yeah. Innovative and tenacious. You said it before. Yep. It's the tenacity of, look, could I have just sat in the car in the parking lot of the yacht club and waited for, my subject to come out? Sure. But I wanted to make an impression. And I did.
Creative, very creative.
What
you need to do, right?
Creativity is what it's all about.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years, I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
If you're enjoying this informative episode of Women Road Warriors, I wanted to mention Kathy and I explore all kinds of topics that will power you on the road to success. We feature a lot of expert interviews. Plus, we feature celebrities and women who've been trailblazers. Please check out our podcast at womenroadwarriors.com and click on our episodes page. We're also available wherever you listen to podcasts, on all the major podcast channels like Spotify, Apple, YouTube, Amazon Music, Audible, you name it. Check us out and bookmark our podcast. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other sites. And tell others about us. We want to help as many women as possible. The world of the private detective has traditionally been a male-dominated profession created for people who are former law enforcement officers. There's still very few women who dare to walk in the shoes of a private eye. Most people never expect a woman to be a PI, and many think they can't do the job. What's interesting is being a private eye is very well suited for women, and you don't have to have been in law enforcement first. We have the intuition, instincts, foresight, and cognitive abilities to be extremely good at being a detective. We do it as moms. We do it every day, at work or at home. Bari, Kroll, and Jen Rosant are celebrity PIs who have a new podcast called Private Eyes. They're giving us a glimpse into what they do and a chance to peek into their exciting everyday life of investigation, intrigue, surveillance, and solving cases. It's definitely not boring. So you guys have to do a lot of role-playing.
How extensive are these roles? Do you actually have to become another person and mingle with these people so they don't really know who you are? I mean, I think a lot of people want to know that. I mean, how in-depth do you get?
Well, this is Jen, and I mean, I would say we don't get into depth. We dress up to fit in, but our job is to not communicate.
We really don't ever want to engage with our subject. It really depends on the case, but most times we do not. So you're just kind of in their world, not with them, but just in their world.
Yeah. No matter where they go, I was in a situation where this female and her husband went to the Renaissance Fair. The Renaissance Fair. I didn't have anything in the car for a Renaissance Fair, but it was near a military base. So I dressed in green. I had green clothes, and I went in there, and there were other people there.
Just assumed she was with the military, so that was it.
And I kind of fit in. So that's what you have to do. You need to fit in. You need to keep your mouth closed. And our job is just to observe them.
So you're the proverbial fly on the wall, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, do you have to take a lot of pictures? I mean, what exactly is like the day in the life of a private investigator?
Oh boy. Well, it's always different, that's for sure. So generally we, depending on the case, the situation, it could be very early in the morning. Sometimes we leave home at 2 a.m. Sometimes we, our job starts at 4 in the afternoon. So it really depends on what, the nature of the cases that we're investigating. We take video. We go with different types of equipment, different types of video cameras that are suited for the environment that we're in, like hidden cameras if we're inside somewhere, and just standard video cameras when we're outside. We just basically, we never know what our day is going to be like. One day we could be going to 10 different, grocery stores, a mall. We could be going to a Renaissance fair, and then we could be driving to Ohio. You just never know. You basically have to be prepared for anything.
That's never boring.
No, it's very interesting.
So what kinds of interesting cases have you been on, and maybe what's the craziest case you've ever covered?
Oh, my favorite question. This is Bari. Everybody asks this all the time. And, doing it as long as I've been, nothing seems crazy to me anymore, if you can believe that. Although there's always something that comes up. I'm like, that's what I thought I'd seen it all. I guess one of the cases when people live double lives, right in their own backyard. I mean, that is just something that still always gets to me, that people are so brazen, and I just, those to me are the craziest, that someone is just so narcissistic and really sociopathic that they are living a completely different life with two different people towns away. So that's probably one of the craziest situations I have, where someone is like basically married to two different women, having children with these two women, living a life with these two women, and
how do you do that?
Yeah, I was going to say, how does somebody do that?
It takes a lot of work. I was exhausted watching that guy, so it takes a lot of work.
I bet.
A lot of work. He'd say he was sleeping at, he'd say he'd have to work overnight, and that would be like the night he slept at the other woman's house, and he'd go back and forth, and he had a million excuses, and it worked for a while, but he got caught. So, of course, everybody gets caught, but they try, and they're successful for a while.
I would think that it would get confusing. They'd call the wrong woman the wrong name. It's like,
probably.
in some intimate situations, and that wouldn't go over at all.
No, it wouldn't.
I mean, those are some of the craziest cases that we do are like the cheating spouse cases. It's like things that you just wouldn't even believe that you can catch, or the person that hired us, we're like, oh, really? We're just babysitting, right? That person is going out cheating.
Is it ever dangerous at all?
Absolutely. It's every day is dangerous, because we don't know the person that we're following. So, I've had someone trying to bash in my window. I've had, so sometimes people do get physical on a job, and you always worry about that. Sometimes people, see a car on the side of the road. They try to get into your car while you're in it, not knowing that you're in there. Sometimes just erratic driving of people when you're following them is dangerous. And something that really always bothered me the most, that I guess you could say I was a little paranoid, but something that always bothered me was sometimes when you get great evidence, and this is a case where someone's banking on a certain outcome, whether it be a lot of money or whatever the case may be, at some point, if they're going to use your evidence, you're going to be discovered. So I always had a little fear of that, probably more than, somebody banging my window, is that this person, I just changed their life, and probably not for the better. Are they going to come after me? So that was something that always, worried me. But on the job, you're just doing your thing. And while it can be dangerous, luckily, no job is more important than our lives. So we know what to do if things, start to go awry. We get out of there. We get out of there, basically. It's because we never want any type of confrontation. But there's just some people that are that you can't follow. They're not new to the rodeo. They've been watched before. And that makes it really impossible and potentially dangerous.
Oh, I bet. Do you have to be trained in self-defense and all of that?
So, you should be. I mean, that was something that we did some time ago. We don't carry weapons. And what's interesting is that I always said it's brains over brawn in this job. You have to constantly be thinking ahead. And if you do that and you're smart, you don't usually find yourself in a position where you could get hurt. So that we've been lucky, and that's kind of always been, our motto. So it's really, just be smart about what you're doing. And, when you feel like you're pushing the limits, it's time to pull back because you really don't know who you're dealing with.
Sure. You got to have a lot of foresight and maybe even be a little bit devious.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mhm.
I'm always playing like devil's advocate, always trying to think like your subject. It's impossible to anticipate somebody else's next move. It really is. You can only worry about your own next move. So it's really a lot of instinct. Practice and instinct is really
And
what it comes down to.
People really will go to great lengths to not get caught. It's the danger can be really prevalent. Like you just don't know.
Right.
I watch enough crime shows to know. Like, holy crap! People, the extremes that they do to not get caught is like over the top. Like, my God, dude.
Yeah, nobody wants to get caught if they typically they got a good thing going. They don't want it ruined.
Right.
I remember doing this case. This guy was in construction, and I get to the job, and let's just say he's chubby, and his other worker was skinny, and the job is going on, and just filming him doing all the work on this house that he said he can't. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know if he started getting a feeling that maybe someone was watching him. Maybe his attorney called him and said, hey, you need to just be careful out there. You got to be careful. Well, in the middle of the day, he changed his clothes.
Ooh.
He changed his clothes to the other guy's clothes.
Oh, the other guy's clothes. Wow.
Yes, I remember this. They switched. That was a good story. I forgot about that guy. They switched their clothes. I called Barry, said, he's got like a belly shirt on. Like, so, when they start getting nervous,
They'll do anything.
Do anything. And
He couldn't stop working. I mean, he was committed and he wasn't going to let anything stop him. So I guess he thought, I'll just pretend to be my work partner.
Yeah. And there was a difference in size, let's just say. So it just was great. That was a good one.
I bet you've had some comical moments, no doubt about that.
Have you ever done any high-speed chases or anything like that?
Oh my gosh, all the time. They're the worst.
Yes.
They're the worst.
Yeah. I had a chase. This is Jen, and I had a chase. I was following this woman, and for one thing, and this happens a lot. People lie about one thing; they lie about everything, as you women know.
Oh boy, I've encountered a few. Trust me.
So this lady, she was not doing the things she should be doing, but she was doing other stuff, like the guys for drugs.
What was she doing?
We think that she was
A prostitute?
yes,
Okay.
a prostitute.
That's not a bad word.
Drugs. Okay, yes. Okay, yeah. So I'm following her, and she realizes it because when she had gone down like this rocky road, I said, I'm not going down that road. It'll make sound. It just doesn't look right. So she realizes that I'm following her. And as a private investigator, you do get caught. So now I called Bari, and I'm on the turnpike. And I am down in South Jersey, and I am flying home to try north. And she is tailing me, and I'm going like 90 to shake her. She won't.
Wow.
So
Couldn't get her off Jen's tail. So we concocted a plan where in the office I found a phone number for her, and I thought we would try to call her and do something to distract her and get her off of Jen. And it turns out the number that we had was a male that answered the phone, and one of my male investigators it was on the phone with him and said, "Oh, hey, I'm looking for," let's just say her name is Amanda. "I'm looking for Amanda." And he's like, "Amanda? Who's this?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, I was just looking for Amanda. My name's Chris. I was just with her." And he's like, "What?" And hangs up the phone. All of a sudden, I called Jen back and I'm like, "Jen, is she still following you?" She's like, "Yes." And then Jen's like,
Wait
No,
a minute.
wait a minute. She slowed down and she backed up.
She like slammed on her brakes, got off the exit, and was like, "Hell no, not the."
So we think it was probably her husband, and he called her and said,
that's
"What's
great.
going on?"
And talk about high speed chase. I was the one being chased.
I mean, you have to, to keep up with our subjects. Sometimes they drive at very high speeds. They
It's
make
hard.
last minute turns. It's really hard. Sometimes it's really divine intervention. I remember one time I was working with my husband. It was a cheating case, and I was following somebody, and he's in the passenger seat with me. And a guy got off the exit, and all of a sudden I felt very uneasy, like I shouldn't follow him off that exit. I go straight, I make an illegal turn, and I'm like, damn it, Julian, that's my husband. Julian, I'm gonna lose him. We just barely got started. I'm gonna lose him. I like make a quick U-turn, I get back on, and they were like right in front of me.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's unbelievable, like what can happen when you're doing this. It's a lot of luck, it's skill, but it's also certainly some luck and
Yes.
some intervention
Yes.
from I don't know where. But
So like quite the adrenaline rush too.
Oh, man.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
The day in the life of a private investigator is never boring. It's never the same, and it's always a challenge. If you hate the mundane, being a PI could be right down your alley. Your job doesn't always begin or end at the same time each day. You play different roles for different cases, wear disguises, and bring surveillance equipment. You always deal with the different and the weird, and have to be prepared for anything that comes your way. Kroll and Jen Rosant are highly successful PIs. Bari owns B. Lauren Investigations, and she and Jen are the hosts of a new podcast called Private Eyes. As Bari says, she's seen it all, and nothing is strange or surprises her. Some of the craziest assignments that Bari and Jen have had are dealing with people who live double lives, are married to two different people, and are actually pulling it off. For a while. Bari and Jen are giving us an inside look into their profession and what is sometimes even a dangerous occupation that requires you to constantly think ahead. As Bari says, it's brains over brawn, and being smart about what you're doing and not getting caught, especially when you're in high-speed chase situations. So do you actually have to take some special driver's training to do this?
no, I thought you were going to say special drugs. We don't do those either. No special driving. I mean, look, we're citizens. Just we're not above the law. We do our best to stay on our subject, but there are some times where
We just let 'em go.
we have to let them go because they are doing something really dangerous, something that could potentially put somebody in harm's way, and we don't ever want to do that. So there's nothing. It's just a lot of common sense, more common sense.
This is so cool. Your show, you're going to be hosting the podcast Private Eyes.
This is going to be so exciting because you're going to be talking about some of this stuff, right?
Yes, and we are. We're gonna. It's a very different type of podcast for our field than what is out there and what has been out there for years. And my whole goal for doing this and speaking, to women's empowerment and things of that nature, I want to expose this field to as many people as I can. Everybody says like, oh, you don't want people to know who you are. Nobody ever knows who I am. All right. When I do surveillance or I'm on a case, I look nothing like I'm not camera ready. Let's put it that way to be nice. Okay. I'm rolling to bed and I'm going. So, no makeup. So, my goal was to expose people to this field, not necessarily the crime aspect of it, not necessarily the not TV show Magnum PI side of it, which is not very realistic. I mean, there are some realistic aspects to it, but the last thing you want to do when you're following somebody is be in a red Ferrari. I think they might notice, like driving them like like they're gonna see ya. So I really want. It's such a great field. It's such a great trade, and had I not kind of fall, I mean, I really wanted to do this, and when I got the opportunity to work in this field, I really didn't know what it was about. I knew what most people know, what I see on TV and Nancy Drew stories and things like that, and I really didn't know what to expect, and having no expectation was probably the best thing, because I really learned what a great business it can be. And that's something that's really never talked about. And not only a great business for anybody, but for women. We get a lot of students that graduate from college that have a criminal justice degree. They decide they don't want to go into law enforcement. They like psychology, sociology, all of these things. And this field rolls all those things into one. And that's kind of doing in this podcast, where we're talking about, yes, our crazy stories, but we're also talking about the things that we have to do in this field. We're giving tips. We're talking about our disguises. We're taking questions from listeners, giving them ideas on what they can do to help themselves and how private investigators can help them. And again, just also really just to expose people to what does a private investigator really do? And it doesn't exist. So it doesn't have to be about crime. We do a lot of civil work. We work with the court system. It's really fascinating. And that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We want to take everybody, undercover with us and teach them about, what it is that we really do. We're just regular people.
Sure. Regular people with a really exciting life.
Being somebody else for the day. It's kind of like make believe. Being somebody else just, every single day of your life.
You're absolutely right. You said it before, like when I tell people that, hey, they'll ask, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a private detective. What?
I get the same thing.
Like, right. And
it's the best to be able to tell them what you do. And the people are usually pretty amazed. And I think more people need to know that they could drive a giant truck, or anybody. Be a private investigator. You could be whatever you want to be. So
people have these preconceived notions of what what a heavy equipment operator should look like, or what a private eye should look like. Yes. And I love debunking the myth.
So do I. That was my number one goal. Really, even getting into the field, like very early on, and I was very lucky. I had a wonderful mentor who taught me about the business. He retired. I took over the business, made it my own, and I brought it to a different level. And I really think that I love telling people this is what I do, and them being totally blown away by it, and being surprised that a woman owning a business, a male-dominated field, and we're really great at what we do.
Oh, it's terrific. You guys are seriously badass. You really are. But you're right. I mean, the perceptions that people have, and having been in broadcasting, I've had a number of radio jobs, and some of the things, I remember some listeners calling in, some of the darndest things people have in their mind's eye. I remember somebody calling me and saying, "You sound like a brunette." I'm like, the brunette sounds like
I don't know. Sometimes I have to be honest. I think that I can't help but conjure up images of people.
And I even got a better one. Some woman called me. She said, "You sound pregnant." I'm like, "Wait a minute."
Oh, that's weird.
I said, "Let me take a step back. How does pregnant sound?" Really? Didn't know there was a sound to that. All righty then.
That I never heard before. That's very fun. Like, what would that sound like?
But the perceptions people have and the stereotypes, and you're breaking those stereotypes, and you're informing people. And this is going to inspire so many women and even girls listening to you. Just like,
I hope so.
That's the goal.
No, I hope so, because there's still not enough women in this field, and it is a great career for a woman. We have the natural instinct, the tenacity, and it's a great career, and people don't know enough about it.
They've done studies of women's brains, and we actually have more activity in our brains than men. We're doing more things in our heads than men are, because I think we're biologically wired to raise kids and think ahead. It makes absolute sense that women would make fantastic PIs, because you have to incorporate all of that.
I agree with everything you say. I say all the time, women who work and have children, working moms, it's never the dad that's thinking about who's picking up the kid from school or who's going to this doctor. They're just not wired that way. It doesn't even occur to them. But as a woman, you're constantly thinking about all of those things. So we are wired entirely different, and we're great multitaskers, and I believe biologically so.
Well, this is terrific. I'm excited for you, for your show. It's called Private Eyes. Where can people listen to it, view it, all of the above?
So the podcast, which is launching August 7th, will be on Spotify and other platforms
like Apple and iTunes. So you'll be able to find us.
This is so exciting. When is it launching again?
August 7th.
Yeah. Yes. We're so excited. We wanted everybody to know about it. And this is going to be something you're going to cover everything from soup to nuts from the sounds of it.
Basically. And that's kind of what the job is.
Yeah.
Soup to nuts. Yes, it does kind of describe what you do, doesn't it?
Yeah. I can't wait for you to hear some of the episodes.
Thank you so much for having us join you today. We love you, and
awesome.
Really, really.
You guys are awesome.
Yes.
You pumped us up. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
You are the classic example of powering women on the road to success, which is our show theme.
You definitely are doing that.
And I want to see more women as PIs. It's about time. It's the 21st century.
Well, we're going to try and pump some out after this.
Yeah.
We're going to pump them out and train them and get them out there, get them on the road, right?
Can listeners reach out to you and ask questions like that? Like, what does it take? What do I need to do? What school do I need to go to?
Yeah. Yes. You could reach us at privateeyespodcast@gmail.com.
Excellent. This has been so much fun, Bari and Jen. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Let us know when you come to Jersey with that big truck.
There you go, Kathy. You got an assignment. You need to take that from Alberta to New Jersey. Do you think you can do that?
Yeah, come on.
Oh, these trucks are bigger than the road. So,
Kathy, everybody's going to get out of your way. That's for sure.
That's true. That's true.
Love it.
Thanks so much. This has been terrific.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everyone.
We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. On our website, we also have a selection of podcasts just for women. There are a series of podcasts from different podcasters. So if you're in the mood for women's podcasts, just click the Power Network tab on womenroadwarriors.com. You'll have a variety of shows to listen to anytime you want to. Podcasts made for women. Women Road Warriors is on all the major podcast channels like Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, YouTube, and others. So check us out, and please follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Advice.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The shadow knows.